Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. Today we're starting chapter 2 of Keep It Shut. It's titled Squabbles, Spats, and Such: How to Communicate with Family, Friends, and Other Necessary People. The Bible reading is from Proverbs chapter 10 verses 12 to 13. Hatred stirs up conflict, but love covers over all wrongs. Wisdom is found on the lips of the discerning. They are an odd but pretty pair, the two candlesticks we have perched on the antique dresser in our master bedroom. While both are crafted from solid brass, with similar round and sturdy bases, the shafts of each candlestick couldn't be less alike. One is straight and streamlined, not at all fancy, just functional, with tall lines, direct and strong. The second is designed with a touch of flair. Two equidistant strands of brass whirl and swirl side by side in a look-at-me manner as they ascend to the top of the shaft that holds the candle in place. I found each candlestick at a different yard sale, both in the same month. While their styles aren't the same, somehow this eclectic pair is an interesting match. And more importantly, they are a constant visual reminder to my husband and me, providing a tangible picture of our marriage. My husband is the first candlestick. No frills, straightforward, all about function. I am the second one, crazy, winding, all over the map, completely about fun. While we are both forged from brass, in that we are followers of Christ with the same spiritual foundation, pair our opposite end of the spectrum personalities together and disaster could ensue. In fact, we often joke that if in our courting college days we would have been able to send our profiles to an online matchmaking website, instead of pairing us up with each other, the computer screen would have blinked a bright warning: "Do not date! Totally not compatible." So often in this day and age of online dating, larger-than-life romantic movies and spectacular stories of love and romance making their way all over the internet, it is easy for us to get a picture of marriage that blinks of perfection. And it isn't just with marriage. So many smiling, well-dressed, and seemingly well-behaved families also parade before our eyes on social media day after day. New moms post a parade of glowing baby and toddler photos on Instagram. Teens on Facebook tag their siblings in a post saying how awesome and amazing they are on the track team or in the school musical. Delighted parents praise their children, and rightly so, for their newly earned honor of Student of the Month or captain of the soccer team. And every picture-perfect post makes our own family relationships seem to fall so short by comparison. Yet in all of these snapshots of flawlessness, there is a missing component. We do not see how these family members are interacting with one another. Sure, they may praise each other publicly, but they don't display their squabbles and spats for all the world to see. At least not most of the time. Interacting day after day with our loved ones is not always easy. Can I get an amen? Parents and children have conflicts over many things, both large and small. Even couples who are head over heels in love with each other are bound to clash at times. Squabbles, spats, and such are an inevitable hazard of life lived in close quarters. Beyond the normal male-female differences between married couples, any two personalities in close proximity will inevitably cause friction, conflict, and sometimes, mostly for me, snapping and harsh words. In fact, no matter if it is in marriage, parenting, or in a work or friendship situation, we're bound to experience frustration, anger, and at times, wounded feelings. People who are not wired as we are, who don't think like we do, and who make decisions and carry out actions we would never dream of, are going to rub us the wrong way. That's a fact. Usually in dealing with a frustrating non-family member, we manage to keep our composure, tame the tongue, and do not say or do anything that we might regret later. I've often wondered why I can usually, but not always, keep my cool with people who are not members of my own family. Let's say the cashier at the grocery store makes a mistake in counting out my change. It's an honest and innocent blunder. She didn't mean to do it. Now, I don't go all ballistic on her, raising my voice or even speaking in a subtle but snarky tone to let her know that someone who has a job as a cashier should surely know how to correctly make change. No, I usually smile and chuckle and say that it's really no problem. I certainly don't make her feel stupid, nor do I use my words, eye-rolling or shoulder-shrugging sighs to imply such. With people outside my family, I may want to keep up a good image and not have them think ill of me, so I choose my words wisely, making sure not to err on the snarky side. Even if it is someone I will never see again, I am careful to make sure my words are pleasant and inviting and don't cause the person to think I'm unkind or rude. When it comes to my friends, I'm usually pretty careful with how I word things, making sure not to upset or offend them. Even when a friend says something I think is foolish or behaves in a way I think may be unwise, I usually manage to hold my tongue. Perhaps if this person is an extremely close friend and asks my opinion about something, I may speak the truth in a straightforward manner. But for the most part, I try to keep my mouth shut in order to keep the peace and avoid offenses or awkwardness. But with members of my own family, it could be so different. If someone in my inner circle makes a mistake, I've been known to subtly or even overtly make backhanded comments about it. Or if one of my children is assigned a household task and doesn't do it correctly, I don't really think about my words as I interact with them. I simply let them spill out, and what tumbles out isn't always pretty. Why is this so? Perhaps because I am related to these people and share the same last name or bloodline. I sometimes feel I can cross the line of decency when it comes to my words. I don't have to fear that these people are going to decide not to hang out with me or to spread the word that I'm an awful person. They're my family, and my relationship with them will not end just because of a few cross words between us. Can you relate? Familiarity breeds contempt, so the old saying goes. And there certainly isn't any group of people we are more familiar with than those who live under the same roof. This familiarity can tempt us to drop our standards when it comes to how we use our words. No longer are we careful not to offend. In fact, sometimes we offend on purpose. With our children or spouse, sometimes we open the floodgates and spew out all sorts of cutting commands, nasty words, flying criticisms, and awful accusations. We can even use silence as a weapon. When we give someone the cold shoulder, we may hold in our words, but we're spewing out our feelings all the same. My husband and I call this misuse of words or withholding of words throwing flesh balls. At that point, we're not walking by the Spirit, but gratifying the desires of the flesh. My flesh just likes to be gratified sometimes, and nothing gratifies it more than a good old all-out verbal assault on my thinks and acts so different from me husband. He tends instead to use his cold shoulder silence to make his feelings known and dig the knife in, twisting it for effect. But is this what God intends for people who call themselves his followers? Are our words weapons, and even our silence part of the arsenal? For decades, TV shows have built whole seasons around household squabbles. Remember Everybody Loves Raymond? Ray and the Barone family had conflicts galore, And even back in the good old days, the wholesome Brady kids had spats. And the salt-of-the-earth Waltons got into a scuffle or two. Why, even on Little House on the Prairie, Laura and Mary Ingalls fought at times, and the Bonanza boys often found themselves in an all-out fist fight right there on the Ponderosa. Little Joe, my personal favorite, often got the brunt of it. Of course, these domestic disputes were usually solved within 30 to 60 minutes, ending with a smiling brood enjoying each other in the last scene of the show. Yes, it isn't just recently or just on TV that families have hit rough spots in their relationships. The pattern goes back even further. Thank you for joining me for today's video. We will continue with part 2 of this chapter tomorrow. So I hope you've all had a very wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!